Hello everyone and welcome to FPL Mate, and we have received some news today that has caused absolute chaos in the FPL world. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating when I say that the double game week announcement that happened today has changed everything. No exaggeration, everything has changed. This is actually crazy, like fully crazy. So today, we're going to take you through everything that's happened, what it means for the fixtures, not just for now, but into the future as well, how this massively changes chip strategy, and if you are serious about your FPL, you're going to want to take advantage of the chaos that is happening right now, because honestly, guys, this is actually mad. I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not even exaggerating at all. So, yeah, hope you guys are well. This is going to be going up as a stream right now. I will re-upload it as a video as well for anyone who misses the stream. So apologies that we are doing this a little bit more off the cuff than usual. Usually I would prefer to make a full video about this, but because of the timings, because we are so close to deadline, this needs to be rushed out because there's a lot to think about right now, and I think I have solved it in the last couple of hours, which is good, I think. So happy days. I think we've solved the chaos and how we can really take advantage of it. So let's start from the beginning. Yeah. I know I'm talking fast, I know it's erratic, but let's start from the beginning. So, a couple of hours ago, we saw a big announcement that there will be a double Game Week 25 in addition to the Game Week 24 double that we're about to see with Everton and Liverpool. So, what is going to happen is, as I tweeted earlier today, if Liverpool reach the EFL Cup final, Liverpool will have a double game week of Wolves and Aston Villa will have a double game week of Ipswich and Liverpool. So that game week 29 fixture that was due to be played between Liverpool and Aston Villa, or Aston Villa versus Liverpool, I should say, that will be moved into game week 25. Giving both of them a double game week. Of course, Liverpool will have to beat Spurs in the EFL Cup or Carabao Cup semi-final in order for that to happen. Now, if Spurs beat Liverpool in the semi-final and reach the EFL Cup final, their game week 29 fixture against Fulham will be moved into game week 25, giving Tottenham a double game week 25 of Manchester United and Fulham will play Nottingham Forest and, of course, Tottenham. Now, if Arsenal reach the EFL Cup final, and they're going to have to beat Newcastle by 2 goals or more in order for that to happen, so it's a bit of an ask, but if that does happen, Arsenal's Game Week 29 fixture will be moved from Game Week 29 to Game Week 25, giving Arsenal a double of Leicester and Chelsea, Arsenal's Game Week 29 scheduled opponent, will face Brighton and Arsenal in Game Week 25. As for Newcastle, no change here. No change with Newcastle, and I think that's most likely because Newcastle are not in Europe. They're not in European football, so there's less pressure, I guess, to reschedule their fixture to an earlier date. So, Newcastle and Crystal Palace, which is still a potential blank in Game Week 29, if Newcastle do reach the EFL Cup final, that is not going to be affected at all. So, where does that take us? Where does that take us next? Well, it means a change of chip strategy, and we need to really think about this because there's going to be back-to-back double game weeks now, which is not something we were expecting. Let's move on to my fixture calendar so we can see exactly what this is going to look like. So, game week 24 is already a confirmed double. Game week 25 will be a double, but we don't know exactly who. So, at minimum, it is going to be Liverpool and Aston Villa or Spurs and Fulham. At least one of those pairs of teams will have a double in Game Week 25. And in addition to that, there's a small chance of Arsenal and Chelsea having a double in Game Week 25 as well. So guaranteed one double game week in 25, one double game week fixture, should I say. So 2 teams. And a maximum of 2 fixtures and 4 teams, which would include Arsenal and Chelsea. Looking through the calendar, what does this mean? Well, I think a big precedent has now been set for this season, really. Previously, we expected that the Game Week 29 blanks, so any fixture that was due to play in game week 29, we thought that those fixtures would be moved into game week 33. That is the way the Premier League has done things in previous seasons, because usually when we look at these Champions League games, the Premier League tries to avoid playing their games at the same time as Champions League games. But obviously, because this season the Champions League games are technically playoffs, I suppose there's a bit more leniency there, and actually Premier League games can be played at the same time as Champions League games, which is not something that is usually happened before. It is pretty rare that has happened in previous seasons, but obviously something has changed. Communications between the Premier League and UEFA has maybe allowed for this to happen more easily. So, if the Game Week 29 blanks, or at least most of them, because we are excluding Newcastle and Crystal Palace, if they're going to be moved into Game Week 25, then I think that's going to have a knock-on effect on the Game Week 34 fixtures. Game Week 34 was previously scheduled to be the biggest blank game week of the season, that we expected the fixtures that couldn't be played in Game Week 34 due to the FA Cup semi-final clashes to move into Game Week 36. That's what has happened in previous seasons. That's what we expected to happen again. However, again, we see this precedent of the Premier League trying to bring fixtures a little bit earlier on into the season. So if they can reschedule fixtures to earlier in the season, then they will. And therefore, what I now expect to happen is the Game Week 34 blanks to move back into Game Week 33 instead of forward into Game Week 36, which would mean that Game Week 33 would now be the biggest double game week of the season. Now, that's what I'm thinking is going to happen at this point. So, any team that reaches the FA Cup semi-final in Game Week 34 and their Game Week 34 scheduled opponents, I think their fixtures will be moved into Game Week 33, and I expect we will get that announcement by the Game Week 30 deadline. So I think we'll find out that for sure by the Game Week 30 deadline. Now, what does that mean for Game Week 36? Well, it sounds like bad news for Game Week 36 because, well, if all of the Game Week 29 fixtures, or most of them, are moving into Game Week 25, and we expect a lot of the Game Week 34 fixtures to be moved into Game Week 33, then what's being moved into Game Week 36? And the answer is probably not very much. And in that case, we could see a situation where Game Week 36 is a small double game week, or there is technically a chance that there is no double game week in 36 anymore. There is a chance of that happening, which is quite crazy. It's quite extraordinary. At minimum, we've still got that Newcastle Crystal Palace fixture. That still needs to be fitted in somewhere. Technically, could it happen in Game Week 33? Maybe, depending on who reaches the FA Cup semi-finals. It could also fit in quite easily into Game Week 36. So, I believe now Game Week 33 will be the biggest double game week of the season, and Game Week 36 could be a very small double game week indeed. So, what does this mean for our chips? I think this is really important because previously we were thinking Game Week 33, Game Week 36, these are the big game weeks to target with our chips. Play the bench boost in Game Week 36, get your assistant manager on for Game Week 33. Everything looked wonderful, everything looked beautiful, everything made sense. Now that has flipped. That has completely flipped. Now Game Week 36 is, I don't want to say pointless, but I don't think we can bank on Game Week 36 being a week that is so valuable that it is worth playing a chip on there. I don't think that is the case anymore. However, I think it does open up the possibility, or a new possibility, to play the triple captain in Game Week 36. So let's just go over that very quickly first. If you are on triple captain right now, if you have triple captained, Salah in Game Week 24, because the deadline hasn't passed yet, you can deactivate it. You can actually technically deactivate your triple captain chip. So you're not locked into your triple captain. If you want to change strategy, and I think you maybe should, depending on what your team looks like, you maybe should, because 36 could be an opportunity. So if the Crystal Palace fixture versus Let me refresh this page. Am I even logged in? No, I'm not. Going to need two-factor authentication for this one. So let me just quickly hide this. And I'll explain why triple captain could be the play in game week 36. So let me just get my code in here real quick, guys, so we can have a look. Probably should have done this before, but there we are. Like I say, we are doing things off the cuff a little bit today. So let's go to fixtures and let's go to game week 36. So in this week, Newcastle play at home against Chelsea, and we could see their game week 29 fixture at home against Crystal Palace be moved into game week 36. There's a chance of that happening. There's a good chance of that happening now, which will give Newcastle a double game week against Chelsea at home, Crystal Palace at home, 2 home fixtures. If Alexander Isak is still in the form that he's been in recently, there is a genuine opportunity to play the triple captain there. That is not the only possibility, and I think things have been blown way open in terms of what exactly is going to go where. All of our preconceptions have gone out the window. So we don't know for sure, but I think that is a definite possibility for his triple captain later on in the season, where previously we thought, yeah, game week 36 is too big of a double game week to use the triple captain on. We're going to have to use other chips there. Now I think game week 36 is probably going to be the prime triple captain week. Be that on Isak for Newcastle or someone else, depending on what fixtures, double game week fixtures end up being slotted in there. So let's go back to here and have a look at chip strategy a little bit here. And then we're going to go into more detail, particularly around assistant manager, who you should play it on, what that means. So right now, this is what I believe to be the best chip strategy for most people. Because obviously different people will have different situations. We always have to caveat these things by saying, you know, team dependent, and it depends what chips you've already used, and etc, etc. But excluding the triple captain chip, because I think that's a bit more of a luxury chip that can be played a little bit more flexibly, this is what I would currently recommend based on the information we have right now. This is the moment you guys have been waiting for. So assistant manager played in game week 24, and we'll go over who exactly you should play it on in just a few minutes time, and how, you know, different routes you can take in that sense. So assistant manager in game week 24, that way you can use one chip to cover multiple double game weeks, because ideally you want your assistant manager to face as many opponents as possible within that 3 game week period. So you'd get a double game week in game week 24, Everton, Liverpool, Moyes, Slot. We'll talk about that in a minute. So you get that, you get a double game week in 24, then you'll get another game week, a double game week in 25. By the way, remember, it is guaranteed that we get a game week 25 double. We just don't know who for. And that could involve using a transfer on your assistant manager to make sure you're moving it to someone who has a guaranteed game week 25 double game week, which of course we will know by the game week 25 deadline. So you will be ready, you will be prepared to have your assistant manager ready to go for their double in 25, whoever it may be. Again, we'll circle back to this one. So game week 24, 25 and 26 will be your assistant manager chip. You can't play any other chips during that period. So deactivate that triple captain, activate your assistant manager chip, 24, 25, 26, beautiful stuff. After that, we have blank game week 29. Now, I think a lot of people will be able to navigate this without the use of chips. And the reason for that is because in game week 25, no matter how many doubles we have in game week 25, you're not going to be able to maximize it, really. Say we do, for example, say we see Liverpool, Aston Villa, Arsenal, and Chelsea, all of those teams double in 25. It is 1 game week away. So it's not like you're going to be able to fill your team up with those players who obviously would therefore go on and blank in 29. You're not going to be able to do that. There's not enough time to do that. Therefore, the majority of your team is still going to be at least semi-optimized to navigate Game Week 29 without any chips. And that is going to be team dependent. Some of you guys will have loads of Liverpool. Remember, Everton won't blank in Game Week 29, but loads of Liverpool. Maybe you have loads of Aston Villa and Arsenal and Chelsea. Your team is full of that. And therefore, you might actually need to free hit in Game Week 29. And that's a possibility as well. But I think for most people, if you've got maybe one Everton player, a couple of Liverpool players, particularly if you're using an assistant manager on a slot, that's going to mean you've only got 2 Liverpool players for double Game Week 25, 3 if you include the assistant manager. If you don't have too much Arsenal, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Fulham, Spurs, depending on which teams end up doubling, you're not going to have to worry about Game Week 29 too much. I hope that makes sense. It's a difficult one to explain, that one. But I think most people will be able to navigate Game Week 29 without the use of chips. So that means dead ending into Game Week 29. After the Game Week 25 double has passed, you can use your transfers to remove players who will blank in 29. We don't know exactly who that's going to be yet. We'll find that out next week. And we can remove those players to try and get 11 playing players, 11 outfield players for Game Week 29. I think it's very, very possible. You might need to take a hit in order to do so. And that might mean removing Salah, Trent, maybe Isak, maybe Gordon, maybe Lewis Hall. You can remove those players. You'll take a little bit of a hit to your team value, but then you can wildcard all of these players back in Game Week 30. And restructure your team ready for Game Week 30 with the wild card, which would allow you to enter Game Week 33 with a bench boost. A nice strong wild card with a strong bench with all of the players who double in 33. And like I say, I think we will know who will double in 33 by the Game Week 30 deadline. So we'll have full information on just how big of a double Game Week 33 is. Get that wildcard done, get that bench boost prepared, ready to go for Game Week 33. And then hopefully that means we can free hit in Game Week 34 and use any saved transfers between 30 and 34 and 35, I guess, to then maximize our double Game Week players for Game Week 36, which I don't think will be too difficult to do because I don't think that many teams will be doubling in 36. So, wildcard into a brand new team. Dead end your team into Game Week 29 and maximize your playing players in blank Game Week 29. In Game Week 30, reset and refresh your team in preparation to bench boost in the big Game Week 33 double. Free hits in Game Week 34 just to remove all of those players who I think will have just doubled. Because if Game Week 34 blankers are doubling in 33, that is going to mean you are going to want an extraordinarily different team in Game Week 33 than you want in Game Week 34. All the teams in this scenario, which I predict, all the teams that double in 33 will then blank in Game Week 34. It's one game week. You're not going to be able to make that transition with transfers alone. The only other possibility is maybe to free hit in Game Week 29 and wildcard in Game Week 34, removing all your blank players. But it's very likely that a lot of the players blanking are going to be players you really want in your team. Salah, maybe Palmer, maybe Isak, Trent. These kind of guys, players from big teams that will make it far into the FA Cup. You're going to want to have these players from Game Week 35 onwards, which is why I do think Game Week 34 has set itself up really nicely for a free hit here. So, like I say, Game Week 33 bench boost, Game Week 34 free hit, and then any transfers you've managed to bank, you can use them to get a few more players ready for double Game Week 36, which honestly, I don't think is going to require a chip anymore. You know, this is looking to me like the triple captain week, Game Week 36. So that is my thinking for chip strategy. I hope that makes a lot of sense. We will come to some questions in the chat very shortly, but I wanted to just cover the assistant manager before we do that. So, assistant manager, I made this earlier. It's only on Google Sheets, so yeah, I didn't really have time to do proper graphics today. This has all come very, very fast. Usually I'd spend, 6, 7, 8 hours on a video, and I've had 2 hours to just consume all the information and try and update a few graphics for you guys. There's just not been enough time, sadly. So apologies for that. But this is what we have. So we're going to go through all of the assistant managers who have at least a chance of a double between 24 and 25. So we'll be looking at Game Week 24. If you were to play your assistant manager and use the chip strategy that I just laid out for you guys, you would use your assistant manager in Game Week 24 on one of Slot or Moyes. Now, if you tripled up on Liverpool already, that's going to be a little more difficult. That is going to be a little more difficult, and you might have to sell one of your Liverpool players in order to do that. Would I sell Gakpo? Maybe not. But if you have a Konate or an Alisson or maybe a Robertson, someone like that, I think I would be willing to sell them. For example, you know, if you sold Alisson to Pickford, which is something I'm considering doing, then that would free up a Liverpool slot to bring in Slot. You can only have 3 Liverpool players and managers in your squad at any one time. So that's a possibility. More difficult if you have Gakpo, because obviously Gakpo is brilliant. I wouldn't sell Trent, by the way, guys. I know some of you in the chat are saying, should I sell Trent? I don't think I would sell Trent or Salah. I probably wouldn't sell Gakpo either. So though I would say Salah and Trent are the non-negotiables. Gakpo, if you really want to sell him, you can maybe move him to Ndai for the double. You can maybe move him to Wissa, and that might, you know, release a Liverpool slot and also free up the budget in order to go for slots. So you definitely could do it. But I would be more cautious about selling Gakpo because he has been in such good form. Players like Diaz, sure. Players like Alisson, sure. I'm not sure what other players you guys... Szoboszlai, maybe. McAllister. All of these players, I would be willing to do it. You don't have to, but I would be willing to do it in order to get Slot. And I think Slot is probably the ideal player to use your assistant manager on, depending on what your team looks like. Because Liverpool have that guaranteed Game Week 24 fixture, but also in Game Week 25, they've got a pretty decent chance of a double. 62% chance of a double. They have a 62% chance of reaching the EFL Cup final, beating Spurs and getting to that final, which would mean you get on a slot for Bournemouth and Everton and Wolves and Aston Villa, and you wouldn't have to spend any transfers on moving your assistant manager from one manager to another. That would be a very, very good scenario. In Game Week 26, you could maybe consider using a transfer to move Slot to someone different. Definitely the possibility to do that. And we also have Moyes with a double in 24. Liverpool, where he would get the table bonus, 16 points for a win, and 8 points for a draw against Liverpool. And then Leicester is just your standard. I probably should have swapped these two around because it's actually Leicester first, isn't it? But I'm sure you guys can forgive me on today. So Moyes is the other opportunity. Only costs 0.5 million, and I'm willing to bet that most of you guys are not tripled up on Everton. So that's much easier to do. So if you have Salah, Trent, Gakpo, and you don't want to lose any of those Liverpool players, you want to keep them for their double-double, you could go for Moyes instead. And if you were to go for Moyes, that would involve making a transfer, essentially. So you take the Game Week 24 double and you would make a transfer on your manager in Game Week 25 to take advantage of a team that doubles in Game Week 25. So let's go through some of the teams that can double in 25 outside of Liverpool. So let's see. So, Emery is the first possibility. He plays Ipswich and Liverpool in Game Week 25 and Chelsea in Game Week 26. So Moyes to Emery could work out. And by the way, guys, if you go for Slot and it turns out that Liverpool don't double in 25, that's no problem. You can also make a transfer on Slot. But you're going to definitely have to do it on Moyes if you want to use this strategy anyway. So if Slot gets knocked out of the... if Slot... gets knocked out of the Carabao Cup and doesn't have a double in 25. Or, if you go for Moyes, there's the potential to go for Emery here. So Emery has a 62% chance of a Game Week 25 double. They are dependent on Liverpool also making it through to the final of the Carabao Cup. So it would be Ipswich at home, Liverpool at home, and then Chelsea at home in Game Week 26. Pretty good. Marco Silva, 1.1. So Emery's only 0.8, by the way. Pretty cheap. Silva is 1.1. He would face Forest at home, which on current table positions would actually be 16 points for a win, 8 points for a draw. So you get the table bonus from Silva here, as you would with Emery with Liverpool. And Spurs, both teams at home, and then Crystal Palace in 26. We've got Postecoglou if you want to go here. There's a 38% chance, by the way, of Silva and Postecoglou making it, basically getting a Game Week 25 double. And that will be if Spurs beat Liverpool and reach the Carabao Cup final, as we mentioned earlier. And with Postecoglou, you get Man United at home and Fulham away. You get a table bonus for any wins or draws against Fulham away. And Ipswich in Game Week 26, which is pretty nice. And if Arsenal somehow overcome their deficit and reach the Carabao Cup final, beating Newcastle, then that opens up Arteta and Maresca, both 1.5 million. So Arsenal would play Leicester away and Chelsea at home in 25 and West Ham at home in Game Week 26, which is actually pretty decent. I think if Arsenal do reach the Carabao Cup final, and I know it's unlikely, only 16% chance of happening, this is a pretty good opportunity, I think, because you fancy Arsenal to win against Leicester, Chelsea, and West Ham. Could be pretty nice. It's basically like a Klopp light in a way, isn't it? You could maybe even look at transferring Klopp a slot. You could even maybe look at transferring Slot to Arteta for Game Week 26. Using your assistant manager transfers to get that West Ham at home game. And finally, Chelsea, and I don't think we need to spend too much time on this one, because even if we do have the opportunity for a Chelsea double game week in 25, I don't think you're going to use your assistant manager chip on Chelsea. Brighton away, Arsenal away, no table bonus. Then Aston Villa away, no table bonus again in Game Week 26. So I think we could probably write off Maresca as an option. But all of these other guys, definitely in contention. So one more note on this one before we move on and start taking some questions from the chat, because I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions, because there's super chats in there as well, which I will get to, don't worry. So just to add as a note, if you do go for Moyes for your assistant manager in Game Week 24, and you want to swap Moyes to someone else in Game Week 25, remember, that will cost a transfer. That will cost a free transfer or a -4. And if you want to upgrade, be that to an Emery or a Silva or a Postecoglou or an Arteta, you need to have the money in the bank. You need to have, depending on which manager you're moving to, you need $1 million in the bank for Arteta. You need 0.6 in the bank for Postecoglou. You need 0.6 for Silva as well. Only 0.3 for Emery, which is quite good. But we don't know that it's going to be Emery in the next round. We don't know that it's going to be Emery having a Game Week 25 double. So really, if you go for Moyes, you need to make sure in Game Week 25, you have a minimum of 0.6 million in the bank. And I think that's a very important note, because I think people will go for Moyes, think, oh, I haven't got very much money in the bank, I'll just go for Moyes. And, you know, hopefully everything will be okay next week. It won't. You're going to have to make multiple transfers. One, to downgrade someone in your starting 11 in Game Week 25 or on your bench. Downgrade one of your players. And then a second transfer to swap your manager. So having that money in the bank is pretty important. Pretty important. So there we go. So to summarize my new idea on what I believe is going to be I don't know if I want to call it the best chip strategy, but a chip strategy that I think will suit and help a lot of people. So Game Week 24 assistant manager. That will take you through 24, 25 and 26. In Game Week 29, we're going to use our transfers to maximize the amount of playing players we have in Game Week 29 and minimize the amount of blanking players in Game Week 29. In Game Week 30, we will use a wild card to set up for a Game Week 33 bench boost. In Game Week 34, we will use the free hit to remove all of our blanking players, and there will be a lot, and use the remaining transfers that we have to prepare for what I believe to be will be a slightly smaller double Game Week 36. That's a lot to think about. That is a lot to plan, and a lot of our thinking and our transfers are all going to be based around these kinds of things and working towards this chip strategy. So yeah, that's what I've got for you today, guys. I think this works really, really nicely. I think this is going to be a very, very popular, and I think this could be a great way to gain points. And a lot of people are not going to be thinking about this in so much detail. So the fact that you guys have taken the initiative to watch this video, I think you're going to have a real advantage over your friends who will be freestyling the rest of the season, because there is so much chaos that freestyling the rest of the season and not planning and not thinking could cause people a lot of problems. It really could cause a lot of problems. So I think you guys, you're already winning. You've watched this video, you've watched this stream, you're already winning, you're prepared, you know what's to come. And yeah, hopefully you guys can get a plan in place. Maybe the plan will be the same as I've laid out. Maybe you've got some modifications to it that work a little bit better for your team. Whatever, guys. But there we go. Let's go to the chat now and answer some of your questions. Hopefully this is going to help anyone watching this as a replay as well. So we've got a super chat. Let's start off with the super chats, of course. So FPL Victoria's Secret says, and by the way, guys, get your questions in the chat. I'll try and answer all of the most interesting and relevant ones. So FPL Victoria's Secret says, if Spurs reach the cup final, moving from a Liverpool player to slot was for nothing. Isn't the higher upside on Moyes and then move to Silva, Ange or Emery? Well, it's not for... It is potentially for nothing, yeah. I definitely understand what you're saying. Because if you sacrifice one of your Liverpool players now, and Liverpool don't end up doubling in 25, then you're going to have to use another transfer anyway, which is not great, which is not ideal. But as with everything in FPL, what we do is we play the odds. We look at what is most likely to happen, and the likely scenario is that Slot will have back-to-back double game weeks in 24 and 25. And remember, a great thing about Slot is that he can't be rotated. It's not like the assistant manager is going to come in for a game. So that would be pretty Gucci. But I definitely understand what you're saying. If you were to sacrifice Gakpo, who is a player you probably like anyway, then, you know, you probably feel a little bit down on that one. Because you're going to have to use an extra transfer on your assistant manager anyway. You may as well go for Moyes. I totally get that. And that's why I'd be more willing to sacrifice certain players rather than others. Alisson is more sacrificable generally compared to someone like Gakpo. So is Diaz. So is Van Dijk. So you have to kind of make this judgment. Play the odds. How much do you value Gakpo in your team? It makes sense. But one more note on that one is that your Liverpool players, if they do play in Game Week 25 only once, so if they don't double in 25, they're also going to have a fixture in Game Week 29. So you might actually want triple Liverpool for Game Week 29 if they double. If they play in Game Week 29, which would mean also playing once in Game Week 25. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting point, and it's why you have to be careful if you are selling one Liverpool player to bring in Slot. If you only have 2 Liverpool players in your squad right now, I think it's pretty easy to just go for Slot. But if you already have 3 Liverpool players, how much value do you place on that third Liverpool player that you have right now? Do you think it's worth taking the risk and going for Slot instead? So yeah, really good question. Really, really good point. Really good point. So yeah, something to consider. Jake with the super chat here as well says, -4 Virgil to Mikalenko and Slot manager. No money in the bank, so Moyes not worth it. And then if Liverpool don't win, change to Emery and Silva. Yes. Jake, I think I would do that for a -4 because you're replacing a double game week player with another double game week player. You've got Slot as the manager. There's a good chance that you won't have to make a manager transfer in 25. And if you do, there are some other options available. What else have we got here? Do we have a clue who will double in game week 36? No. Sadly not. Sadly not. Because that is going to be impacted by what fixtures go into game week 33 and obviously what fixtures blank in 34. We don't know yet who is going to reach the FA Cup semi-finals. We've still got 3 more rounds of FA Cup games to go before we can even get an idea of that. And even when it is confirmed who makes the FA Cup semi-finals, there's a good chance those fixtures go into game week 33 anyway. And therefore, game week 36, it could be a small double. It could be no double at all. But I have a suspicion that it's going to be a smaller double now. So I don't think there's too much point in thinking about game week 36 in too much detail right now because it is so mysterious and probably less impactful than we thought it would be previously. So I wouldn't waste too many brain cells on that one, to be fair. Fam says Gakpo to Wissa for a hit. I don't think I would do that. No. Yakub says I don't get it. Our team's blanking in 29, doubling in 33 or 25. So yeah, it's moved as of today. Aside from Newcastle and Crystal Palace, the teams that blank in 29 will be moved into game week 25. That's the simplest way of putting it. Kai says you explained about using free hit and bench boost and triple captain, but when would you use your wildcard? Yeah, we mentioned wildcard in game week 30. So resetting your team with a wildcard in game week 30 for this strategy. Ed says, wait, so why can't I just triple captain this week and use assistant manager next week? I think because the idea is that you want to use that one chip to cover multiple double game weeks. And that's only possible with the assistant manager chip. So certainly you could still triple captain in game week 24 and assistant manager in 25. Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Yeah, definitely get it. Particularly as you'll have more information in game week 25. Well, you'll know for sure who doubles in 25. But you'd only get a single game week out of your assistant manager in 26 and 27. So you'd get 4 games from your assistant manager rather than 5. Because you get 5 if you used it in game week 24. And remember, you can use your triple captain at any time. So there's plenty of opportunities later. Triple captain is usually the least powerful chip, so it should be an afterthought. I think a lot of people around the FPL world, people who know their stuff, have kind of unanimously agreed that when planning your chip strategy, you start with the assistant manager. Because the assistant manager is so powerful, that is the one you play as a priority, and then you play everything around it, trying to maximize that assistant manager chip because it is so powerful, the upside is so high. So definitely would prefer to use the assistant manager in 24 rather than 25, given the option. I think if you're going to use your assistant manager in 25, then there might even be better opportunities later on. You may even go in 36. 36 might be better in 25. Because I think 25, 26, 27 as a 3 game week period for your assistant manager, there's nothing incredible enough there that I think, oh, you absolutely must play it in 25. It's more that if you can capture 24 and 25, then you get that huge bonus of the extra fixture. So kind of looking through these game week 25 fixtures, so if you were to use the assistant manager in game week 25 alone and forget about 24, Emery versus Ipswich and Liverpool, it's okay. Silva versus Forest and Spurs, it's okay. There's nothing crazy good here. I think I do quite like Silva against Forest for the table bonus. But outside of that, we don't even know if that's actually only a 38% chance of happening. Don't think I'm super keen on that strategy. But for some people that might work. Remember, if you have activated your triple captain chip, you can deactivate it now if you want to. You can still deactivate it. What else have we got in the chat? Moyes is not a bad buy. No, yeah, Moyes is absolutely fine. Kyle's World has made a very good point, which hopefully I've been able to emphasize, but just to mention it again, guys, please remember there will be no perfect scenario, there will be no perfect assistant manager, no perfect triple captain. We just have to make do with probabilities. There will always be what ifs, and that is absolutely true. We can only work with what we've got and try and make predictions and stuff like that, which I think is fun, to be fair. I enjoy it. Can you remind us what teams are blanking or expected to blank on Game Week 29? Yes, I can. Actually, I have a graphic for this that I used in a video yesterday. Let's try and find it so I can... how do I even... Where is it? I probably should have... Probably should have prepared this earlier. Let's whilst I'm doing that, we'll answer some more of your questions in the chat. So swap Gakpo or Trent for slot. If you want to swap Gakpo, you can, but I don't think it is a high priority. I don't think it's a high priority move necessarily. Right, here we go. So here are the teams that have a chance of blanking in Game Week 29 and the rough odds. I think the odds have changed slightly, but you can get a rough idea from this graphic at least. So Newcastle and Crystal Palace, most likely teams to blank in Game Week 29 teams. Aston Villa versus Liverpool, second most likely teams to blank in 29. And then we have Fulham and Spurs. And finally, Arsenal and Chelsea. Every other team has a guaranteed fixture in Game Week 29. Guaranteed. Epic Football says there will be only one double game week after 25. There's only one guaranteed double game week, but I think there'll probably be two. There's probably going to be two. Another super chat from FPL Victoria's Secret says, would you take a -8 for an assistant manager if you have 0.0 in the bank? I do have 0.0 in the bank, and I think I'm going to take a -8. I think I am. But what I should say on that is that I think if you are going to take a big hit this week, it should serve future game weeks as well. So it should serve the wider strategy. It should serve the wider plan. So, for example, if you are taking a -8, maybe bring in some players who have a guaranteed fixture in Game Week 29, for example. I would say best time to triple captain in this strategy would be 36. Thank you for that question, M7. Thoughts on Gordon to Cliver to get slots in? Yep, I definitely like that. That's a good move. I think if you've got a Gordon or a Jackson or a Bruno, you know, these cash cow players that they're in your team, but they're probably not providing you great value for money. These kind of players, I think, can be sacrificed quite easily for a cheaper option. Be that Cliver in midfield, Wissa as a forward. You know, maybe if you're looking to downgrade a defender, you could go for Mikalenko there and use those transfers to free up the money to bring in slots, as long as you're not tripled up on Liverpool already. How about selling Mateta to Ndai? Yep, again, another move that I'd be willing to do. Mateta down to Ndai. You know, Wood to Ndai as well is a possibility. Trent to Gakpo to slot, or just go for Moyes. I don't think I would sell Trent. I would maybe sell Gakpo, but probably not. I think if you are on Trent, Salah, Gakpo, I will probably just go for Moyes as your assistant manager. That's probably what I would do. Probably. But if you have any other third Liverpool player, I would definitely look at selling that Liverpool player in order to get slot in your team. Imagine if Liverpool lose both games. Hey, it's a possibility. João Pedro to Wissa for a hit? No, definitely not. I don't think that serves anything. It doesn't serve the blank GW29. It doesn't serve any chip strategy. It doesn't serve any double game weeks. So no, I would not be doing that. So a lot of people asking the same question here. And for people watching this as a replay, I don't want to repeat things too much. People are saying, should I sell Gakpo? Should I sell Gakpo? It's down to personal preference on there. If you're doing it for a hit, then I would not sell Gakpo. So I wouldn't take a hit to sell Gakpo. If you can do it for free, maybe. But even so, I don't think I'd be super confident on that one. So just no more talk on Gakpo, I think. -4 for assistant manager. Yep, I would take a -4 to use the assistant manager. I would even consider taking a -8. Would you sell Alisson for a hit? Yeah, I would sell Alisson. If you can sell Alisson to Pickford and then a forward slot, I would do that. Triple captain, Salah. No, I don't think I would do that now. Isak to Watkins. I wouldn't even think about it. Wouldn't even think about it until if Watkins gets a double game week confirmed in 25, I would start thinking about it. But I probably wouldn't be selling Isak in order to do so. Zuri with the super chat, but no message attached. Zuri, I'll keep an eye out for your message in the normal chat. So, yeah, no super chat message, but I'll keep an eye out in the chat for you. Matt D says, Wood to Ndai or Gordon to Cliver or Rogers? I think that's tough. I think I would maybe do Gordon to Cliver. I think. Why won't you triple captain Salah? Because anyone asking about the triple captain, I think at this point, rewatch this whole video. We'll rewatch the whole stream. We've gone over the whole strategy in today's video. So, yeah. Don't want to repeat myself too much because I know a lot of you guys may be joining in the chat late, which is absolutely fine. But I do encourage you guys to watch the whole stream because it will answer a lot of the questions that you have, I think. So, I think we've covered everything. Let's move on to my team, and I'll tell you what I'm thinking right now. So, I've already... I was going to say stupidly, but I was trying to get ahead of price changes because I would have been frozen out of certain moves had I not gone early on transfers. But I've already used my transfers. I have no transfers left. I'm really not bothered about Alisson. I think if I move Alisson to Pickford, because I need to do something. If I want to use my assistant manager, I have nothing in the bank. Maybe some of you guys can relate to that. I want to use my assistant manager chip. I have nothing in the bank. Now, I could either sell, like... I could either do, like, Wood to Ndai. Maybe. That still wouldn't give me enough for slot. But I'm tripled up on Liverpool anyway. But it would give me enough for Moyes and a transfer move next week, I guess. To change Moyes to someone else. So I definitely could do that. Or I could also remove Alisson to Pickford. Get 2 guaranteed players for Game Week 29. Use the assistant manager on slot. Pray that Liverpool beat Spurs. And then I'll be set up really nicely. It would be a -8 though, which is a little risky. So that is the risk there. So potentially doing that. So in my scenario, with nothing in the bank, I would definitely take a hit to use the assistant manager. I would take a hit. Whether you want to take multiple hits to do exactly what you want or you want to play it a little safer, that's up to you. If you're in a similar situation to me, I think you have 2 choices. And a reminder, I don't think I would sell Gakpo for a hit. But if you got an Alisson, maybe. So I could do this. Pickford in. And die in, giving me an additional 2 double game week players. Slot as my assistant manager. And there we have it. Oh, one more note, actually. One more note before we move on. If you do have players from... Let's go through these teams again. If you do have players from Aston Villa, Spurs, Fulham, Arsenal or Chelsea, and in my situation, I have Jackson... There's now a chance that Jackson has a double game week in 25, so I'm less inclined to sell him. I'm less tempted to sell Jackson now. He has a chance of a double in 25. Similarly with your Arsenal players, I'd be less likely to sell them. Certainly, Fulham, Spurs, Aston Villa players, they should be going absolutely nowhere now. I think you've got to keep these players just in case they do double in 25. Because you could have a few double game week players that you weren't expected to have. Could be pretty nice. We won't know exactly who they'll be, but... And yeah, Arsenal unlikely. Chelsea unlikely. But we still have to recognise the possibility. But anyway, I think that's everything I want to cover today. So yeah, there you go. New chip strategy. I think it looks pretty good. I think this is what I'm going to be rolling with for an assistant manager in Game Week 24. I will take a minimum of a -4 in order to do that. Current thinking is to sell Allison and Wood to Pickford and Ndai, and then activate the assistant manager on slots. That is the plan. Although I'm not 100% sure on it, but I like the look of it. I really do like the look of it. Quickly, another super chat here from Revs, who says, sells... Oh, this is a big message. Sells Henderson. You've given me a whole team. You've got loads of free transfers. You still... Okay. Revs, use your assistant manager chip this week. And... you only have 2 Liverpool players there, I believe. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Use your assistant manager on a slot. You've got plenty of money in the bank, plenty of free transfers there. Really simple decision. Really simple decision. Right, yes. Still see there's loads of questions in the chat, guys. Rewatch the stream. Believe me, rewatch the stream because it will answer 99% of the questions I'm seeing in the chat. Don't you worry about that. Study it, think, plan. We've got not that long. We've got, what, 18 hours until deadline. So need to get these things wrapped up, get thinking, get that strategy in place. And yeah, man, good luck. Chaos is a ladder. Use that ladder, climb that ladder, because things are about to get very interesting in the world of FPL. Take that hit, take that risk, make your move. I love chaos in FPL. I love it. It's always a great opportunity for those who are thinking about FPL to get ahead. Let's go get it, guys. We'll be back. No video today, by the way, guys. There's just, with this announcement, there's just been no time. This is the video. So I probably should plug the Sleeper League. So if you haven't joined my Predictor League, my results predictor league, you predict teams win, lose or draw each game week, and you can win big prizes every week. We're giving away Amazon gift cards, football shirts, PlayStation 5s, and all you need to do is click the link at the top of the description, join the Predictor League, new league for February. So it's a brand new league this month for February, and the winners of the February league, there'll be 3 winners and they will win prizes. So get involved, guys. I think you've got a really good chance of winning if you do join. Use that link in the description. But that's all I have to say today. Thanks, guys, for joining me today and enjoying the chaos alongside me. Make sure you do leave a like if you appreciate the work that has gone into this video stream in such a short period of time. Hopefully we've managed to cover everything. Leave any comments you want. If you have more questions, I will try and answer you guys. I've now got the afternoon off, which is a nice surprise, so I'll be answering a lot of comments to try and help you guys out. And of course, subscribe if you like this kind of stuff, because we will be going live tomorrow morning for a deadline stream where we can dissect the chaos maybe a little bit more. So thanks, guys, for watching. Once again, feel free to check out another video on the FPL Mate channel. Plenty of stuff on there, and I will see you later, mates. Bye bye.